Just going to wait to see if the stream's up. But I think we're live. Hello everyone and welcome back today for the Academy League here at Gavra Racing. We're here for round number 3 at France, the Circuit de Paul Ricard. An interesting one, definitely. It's fair to say the least. Love-hate track among many drivers, definitely. Can I just get confirmation in the chat that you can hear my audio all A-OK? Because apparently we're having issues with GT Sport last week. But I think it should be good. With 14 drivers lining up on the grid, it's going to be interesting to see who takes the win here tonight after a roller coaster of emotions last week in Portimao. What a race that was. Had everything last lap drama to add to the mix, but we've got an 18-minute qualifying. We've had 2 of those minutes already. We're now down to 16. But France, like I was saying at the start, is definitely a track that I don't think everyone hates, but I don't think everyone loves it either. I think it's one of those where you always get about 50-50 if you had a poll asking, do you like this track? It's kind of got everything, apart from elevation, it's kind of the only thing this track doesn't have. You have a long straight followed by chicanes, you've got some medium high-speed corners. I think the thing that separates this track from being people's favourites is probably the final sector. Definitely a pain in the wet on worn tyres as well. It's not the most enjoyable. But our Pitter is about to start his first firing lap in quali on the soft compound tyres, which is really interesting to note for strategy that our Pitter is going to be aiming to start this race on the soft compound tyres. So you can see 2 other drivers say otherwise and have opted for the medium compounds. Turn 1 and 2 are a tricky complex of corners. It's pretty much a blind turn 1, and as you get to turn 1, only then can you see turn 2 through the end of the first sector. Let's have a look at the sector split. No, we're not there yet. It's after turn 7. Here we go, 22.9. We'll keep an eye on that throughout the session and see how much that improves. But there's already the poll in the chat, which happens pretty much every time we go to this track. Do you like the Paul Ricard track? Yes or no? We'll have to wait and see what you guys think in the chat. Approaching a heavy braking zone, down to 3rd, 4th gear. 3rd for the rotation, 4th for the traction. Hooked up really nicely, to be honest. No twitchiness, no loose end. All getting it hooked up nicely. We've got some yellow flags down at turn 1. I think that's for Sumi. 50.5 for our Pitter's middle sector. To be honest, I have no idea what is a good middle sector or what is overall what's actually a good lap. I always say I'd do a lap and then knock off 0.5 to a second, and then that is what I would like to call a good lap. Coming through the technical final sector now, swooping it in for a medium speed left before heavy on the brakes. Really easy to lock up. Don't really want to take too much of the inside curb, but I can compromise your exit. It's quite a long run up to the line. Let's have a look at the lap time. It's a 1 minute 31 flats for our Pitter. The first time puts him on provisional pole. We got by Jasper, who will cross the line next with 32.8 and 1.8 seconds currently off the pace. We've got Piet coming up on the medium tyres with a 31.5 and is 0.5 off provisional pole, so not a bad time on those mediums if you're 0.5 slower than the softs. Is this Liam coming up to the line? It is Liam coming up to the line for a 31.8, but Hilstedinho goes to provisional pole 0.5 quicker, but that is quickly beaten by a 10th by Pinty. And someone improved, I think that was Nico Sora going into 6th place, and then Dutchy, by the way, moving up to 7th with a 32 flats. So where there are close gaps, we do have close gaps. Only 0.2 between these sets of drivers, only a 10th out in top for pole. So it seems to be a close competitive grid here. Mr. Morning on the mediums is invalidated. That's not what he would have been hoping to do. He comes into the pits. Now this could be interesting to see if he comes back out on another set of mediums, or on these set of medium tyres. You only get 1 set of medium tyres in qualifying, 3 softs. It's a shame you can't use the hards anymore. Cyrax coming up to the line, sets a 1 minute 32 flats, goes up into 7th place, just ahead of Dutchy, by the way, who's currently in 8th place, 300ths slower than Cyrax at the current time. Current time is 12 minutes left to go in this session. We've got two drivers on the mediums. One driver who's actually set their fastest lap on the mediums. Could be going for another one here. Saved up the ERS. We've got 100% battery. We can get an on-board lap, actually, of a medium-timed lap, considering I don't think we have a lot of drivers on laps. I think everyone's on in-laps here. Going in towards turn one, a really tricky complex of corners. You can see it's pretty much blind braking as the curb starts on the right-hand side, getting the power down nice and early. A little lift-off. It's really easy to misjudge how early you can get the power down and shoot off wide onto the curb. Braking roughly just before the 50-metre board, before hooking up these sequence of corners nicely. Each one flows into one another. It's really important. You can hook up each corner after the next. An almost flat out right-hander before a flat out left before the start, the back straight, not the start-finish straight, which has many different lines you can take, except this complex is a left followed by a right followed by a left, braking the 100-metre board, hooking up the curbs nicely, cut the curb on the left-hander. You can put three wheels on the curb. As long as one's on the track, you should get away with it. Long swooping right-hander. I think this could be turn 10 or turn 12. I always get it mixed up, but it could be neither of them. A tricky right-hander, fast, medium right-hander, one that you can easily drift out wide, one that you can really take too slowly, really overestimate your speed. And cut the corner on the inside. We don't want to get on that inside curb. That could be an invalidated lap, and it is an invalidated lap from Piet, sorry, and is going to decide to bail, come into the pits from those medium tyres. So currently second place out of the medium runners. Pinty's actually gone out of the pits, or he selected the medium compound tyres in the pit, so he could be coming out. It looks like he's coming back out on a set of medium tyres. So if he can improve from a 30.4, sorry, from his soft run, it's going to be an impressive lap from him. Have we got anyone on a lap? Is Sarax on a lap? It says he's up on his time. This could be why he's up on his time. Completely ignoring the turn 7, 8 and 9 chicane. Jasper's on an out lap. So everyone is currently on an out lap. Let's try and find the first person who is going to be on this out lap. I think it's Mr. Morning. Mr. Morning came around the final corner and was lucky not to invalidate there, despite getting all loose on the rear, going over the white line on the left-hand side of the track. Hello, everyone in the chat. Going in towards turn one, Mr. Morning hooks up the apex quite nicely before doing a Yuki Tsunoda off into the barrier. Hello, Cryptech, are you here to join me? Or, no, he's not. He's just left the party. He can join for Academy, but he can't join for GT Sport. That's the reliability, that's the service we're getting around here. It doesn't look like Mr. Morning is going to complete this lap. He might do anyway. It doesn't look like he's running in a high battery mode, so he could be setting up to go for another one. Our Pitter is starting his lap, going through the first couple of corners here on a set of red striped soft compound tyres. Let's see if he can hook up the first sector nice and cleanly without any incidents. Speaking of, we've got yellow flags in the middle sector. That could be just cars slowing down, getting a gap to each other. But he's 3/10 up on his personal best. At this rate, he will slot in just behind Hilstedinho if he can maintain that 3/10 advantage throughout the lap as he approaches turn 7, 8 and 9. A little bit too deep into 7. That will compromise the line into 8. Ultimately, the overall run throughout 9. And the approach in towards 10, the fast swooping right-hander, which Zexify gladly corrected me. Completely flat out in these cars. It'd be interesting to see what the old cars could do around this track. Obviously, we used to go to the French Grand Prix, but seeing it now would be interesting, especially for like the 1970s cars. I think they're my favourite type of cars, especially Niki Lauda's Ferrari from 1976. I'm sorry, that is my favourite F1 car of all time, apart from when it was not on fire. Anyway, coming through the final sector now is our Pitter on a set of soft compound tyres. It looks like a clean lap despite the incident down at turn 7. He's hooks up the final curb, corner nicely, opens up the DRS in the long run up to the line. Can he improve? He does improve. Goes up into 4th place. So if he can nail that chicane next time out, then I think that could be a good lap from our Pitter. He could potentially put himself on pole position, and someone who's not going to be put on pole position at the end of this lap is by Jasper, who's taking a little bit of a scenic route on the exit of turn 13, I think, by doing a nice lovely donut, heating up his soft tyres. We'll be going for another one though, rounding the final corner. getting on the power nice and early, not too early or too quickly to heat up those rear tyres even more. Meanwhile, let's have a look at someone coming up to the line. I think that's Nico Zora coming up to the line. Has invalidated though. Pinty on a set of the medium tyres has invalidated. But if I quickly change this to the best time, he has done it on the soft. Piatti is the only driver to set their fastest lap time on the mediums. We still have 2 drivers yet to set a time. Mr. Morning and Tootie Boy. Tootie Boy, though, golf-themed multiplayer car going through the first couple of corners now. He'll be trying to get a clean lap in. I think he might get a banker lap in this time out and then go again with 3 minutes left to go, just so we can secure at least a time. A time is better than no time. There's a little bit of traffic there. I'm not sure who that was on the right-hand side of the track. Didn't look like it compromised him too much. Might have given him a bit of a shock. But opens up the DRS. Not a track you want to have a DRS failure, especially in career mode. Thankfully, well, I say thankfully, we do have the player faults off for, I think, obvious reasons. It'd be a shame for you to be winning a race. You're about to win the championship, and then your engine blows up with corners to go. That would be the ultimate script. Anyway, going through the fast swooping right-hander, turn 10. Before approaching this kind of long right-hander, which on worn tyres can feel like you're going for absolutely forever, just turning right, trying to get the car in, especially in the wet conditions. Gavra just saying facts in the chat. It's so easy to invalidate your lap here. It's such a medium speed track with a total, there's so much runoff. It's really easy to just misjudge a corner and get it all wrong. Someone who hasn't looked like he's got it wrong. Tootie Boy, though, currently running in 14th place, is going to finish a lap. It's going to put him on the leaderboard. It's good enough for 7th place, only just 7th place, almost got 6th, with a 131.2, 400 off by Jasper, who is on an invalid lap. Chibokharan has gone provisional pole with a 130.286, 2/10 clear of Pinty, down in 2nd place, 3/10 separating the top 3. I thought that was an end plate coming off of someone's car. It was just a marshal waving a yellow flag. Yellow flags in sector 1. There goes the Rolex advertising boards. Apologies about that, Rolex. If anyone is watching from Rolex, there's a little bit of traffic through the first sector. I think this could be cars getting out of the way. Mr. Morning's lap almost invalidates there. That front left was close to exceeding the track limits. Down at turn 7. In towards a tricky braking zone now. Does he brake too early? Does he brake too late? He brakes spot on for that section of corners. He hooks it up nicely. He hasn't lost the rear. He's kept the momentum going. Got yellow flags in the 3rd sector, but I think that's for either someone who's run out of fuel or someone getting out of the way. Through the high speed, beautiful turn 10. It's satisfying to get a move round the outside down there. A wider line for turn 11, sorry. It's kind of 2 lines you can take into that one. Which one's the quickest? We'll have to wait and see. Into the final sector we go then, and a lot of drivers' least favourite final sectors. Let's have a look. If he can hook it up nice, you can see a few tyre marks on the track from where people have locked up in the past. Opens up, the DRS will drain all the battery he can left. What's it going to be for Mr. Morning? It's going to be a time good enough for 5th place, a 130.9. And Diego Gamer, hello Diego Gamer, actually, sorry, I was going to say Zexify. Mr. Morning's livery looks like an Aramco livery. There's some interesting speculations about what's happening at Mercedes, but I think Toto Wolff has hinted that I think Petronas are staying with Mercedes for another year. Actually, Mr. Morning's gone 2/10 up on his personal best on those Warner set of soft compound tyres. Liam, currently running in 6th place, is going to be the next driver to set a lap. He's just under a 10th, improving on his time. Going through the middle sector now. I'm just going to take this moment to welcome everyone in the chat. Director, by the way, Mason, Zexify. Apologies if I missed someone. Just quickly scrolling through. JMB Surreal, Dazza, Dan as well. Welcome to the Academy race here at France. And I'm actually surprised by the amount of soft tyre runners we have in this qualifying session. I'll get onto that during the formation lap. Liam, though, rounding the final corner. You can see the rear wing flap opens up, giving him the extra straight line speed advantage. And does he improve? Just improves Doesn't improve his position though. Maintains 5th position. Someone's coming up to the line. I think that is Cyrax. I don't think he improved though. Pinty does improve though. Goes 1/10 and clear on provisional pole position with a 1 minute 30.1 on those soft compound tyres. Hilstedinho, I think, is starting his lap or has just finished one. Yellow flags in sector 1. That's Pinty just backing off and letting drivers go through. Someone's going around the final corner. That could be Tsubokaran. No, it's not. It's a yellow car. Who is it? I think it's Piatti, sorry. He'll be starting his lap. Currently down in 11th place. Is trying to set a time on the medium compound tyres. He's determined to start this race on the mediums and will be aiming to start in the top 5. Our pitter has come around the final corner on an invalid lap, but has saved the battery. Doesn't appear to be in hot lap as it was still at 100%. I think he realised that halfway down the straight, and with 1 minute and 10 seconds to go, this is going to be a lot of drivers' final laps. So 2 drivers in the pits won't be able to get another lap time in. That's Tooty Boy and Mr. Morning running in 6th and 8th place respectively. That'll be their last laps of the session. Who is the next person to set a fastest lap? Is it? It could be. I think everyone is on either a cool down lap or an out lap. That's Liam's in the 30s already, so he won't be improving. Hilstedinho's just under a 10th from improving. Let's have a look and watch his lap. Can he improve? It doesn't look like he can improve. He's down in his time, but I think he's going to go for it again. Is anyone going to improve on this lap? Nico Zora goes up into 12th place, improves by 2.5 tenths. Who's coming up to the line? There's a yellow car coming up to the line, but which one is it? It's Piatti from the medium tyres. Can he improve from 11th place? Does so. Goes up into 7th place, but has already done 3 laps on those tyres. A few drivers coming into the pits. Our pitter has invalidated and was 5 tenths up on his time. That could have been good enough for the front row of the grid. We'll see if what time it could have been from our pitter. It would have been a 30.3, so that would have been just the second row of the grid. Someone is improving. I think that was Dutchy, by the way, coming up to the line to start his lap, but he's moved up into 10th place, so he might get another chance to go again. I think the timer has finished. I think these are the last laps here in qualifying. Tsubokaran has invalidated on his lap. You can see the checkered flags are out. Liam is a 10th up on his personal best. We've got yellow flags pretty much absolutely everywhere. Reggie, though, is 2.5 tenths up, currently in 11th place. Gavra's asking what's the best strategy here, and I'll get onto that during the formation lap. As Reggie, currently in 11th place, he was improving. He's opened the DRS up to the line, goes up into 7th place, and knocks Piatti down into 8th. Not sure we're going to have anyone else improving. I think Nico Zora has invalidated, and someone else is coming up to the line, or will be going up to the line eventually. But might choose to come into the pits as Piatti has invalidated on his time. There is someone who appears to be speaking Spanish in the chat, and I used to speak Spanish, but I will be honest, my skills have deteriorated over the past 2 years. I can say basic stuff. But that is going to be qualifying over. Our pitter has invalidated going through somewhere before turn 10. So it's going to be Pinty who takes pole position here, and joining him on the front row is Tsubokaran. Hilstedinho will line up alongside our pitter in 3rd and 4th place. Liam will join Mr. Morning on the 3rd row in 5th and 6th, followed by Reggie, and Piatti on the medium compound tyres by Jasper in 9th. We'll have Tooty Boy just behind him in 10th place, followed by Dutchy, by the way. Sumi in 12th, Nico Zora in 13th, and Cyrax will round out the grid in 14th place. So then, there is a reminder of your qualifying grid for today's race. Only just under 2 tenths separating the top 2, a second separating the top 7. So it could be a close fight in that respect. But then, only 2 tenths separating 7th and 8th. Only, 2 seconds separating the whole grid. That might seem like a lot. But trust me, come the race, who knows what might happen. Safety cars, I would say, are common at this track. maybe not in much so in real life, but it's common for drivers to lose it on curbs, maybe a bit too aggressive with sending it to the inside, losing the rear, especially in the wet conditions, or lap one incidents are highly common. We saw what happened in the Premier Series last season. Thunder got absolutely annihilated down at turn 6. How he didn't lose, turn 6, how he didn't lose a wheel. Honestly, if you haven't seen it, definitely go check it back, because his car done about 3-4 flips, not like sounding like horizontal, vertical flips, as in like he went for a few spins at high speed after kind of being collected into the barrier. I think it did. I think the last season did start on wets. I remember 2 seasons ago in the freshman it started on inters, then went to wets, and then it kind of went inters and wets. People made 4 to 6 stops in that race. It was absolutely carnage. Nobody knew what the strategy was. People pitting every other lap for inters and wets. But to be honest, I do like this track for league racing. I do think it provides plenty of overtaking opportunities, plenty of room for error. There we go. There's the predicted pit stop strategy that I was talking about that we'd get onto in the formation lap. If you start on the softs, you're pretty much committed to a 2-stop. Tyre wear is pretty high around this track. Not as high as Bahrain, but soft to hard is possible, I believe. I believe a soft to hard is possible. However, tyre degradation will become a factor at the end of the soft stint. The game recommends a medium to hard. That's the strategy that I ideally would be going for, which is why I was surprised at the amount of soft tyre runners that we have from quali. So I think it's either going to be a soft medium, or a medium to hard. I think those are the 2 strategies we are going to see tonight. Those are kind of like my top 2 predicted strategies, I think these drivers are going to be considering doing. Sarak's opting for the hard tyre, so he'll be going long into this race. 3 drivers on mediums, everyone else on the soft compound. The top 10 obviously deciding their tyre choice by quali. Outside the top 10, you're free to do whatever you're like. To put it into context, 27 laps. Softs can go about 9 laps, mediums 15 and hards 19. Those are roughly the furthest you can take the softs, mediums and hards before you're risking yourself a puncture. But I'm excited for this one. If it's going to be anything like Portimao, then I know comparing Portimao and Paul Ricard is like comparing Mount Everest to an ocean. One is flat and the other one has tons of unknown elevations and surprises, but we're in for a surprise here. Anything can happen, and I'm sure these drivers will provide a great race here tonight for round number 3 here at the Academy League for season 5. It's incredible that we're already 5 seasons in. But drivers at the back are just completing their formation lap. Here we go then. The 5 red lights are on. The revs are building, and it's lights out, and away we go. And it's a good start from Tuka Bogdan. He pulls up alongside Pinty, is ahead of Pinty, going in towards turn 1. It's about 2 wide, or 2 by 2 in the midfield. There's someone late on the brakes to the inside. That might have been by Jasper, but I think everyone has survived the chaos, the carnage. That is turn 1, lap 1. As Tubokaran leads the way, but it's a closely contested by Pinty and Hilstedinho, Piatti and Reggie going wheel to wheel, and someone sent one to the inside. I think that was our pitter on Liam there down at turn 5, turn 4 and 5 even. But I think everyone has made it through without any damage by Jasper, and Tutti Boy getting close for comfort down in 9th and 10th place. They're going wheel to wheel in the run down towards the hairpin, the chicane, at the end of this massive long straight. The predicted pit stop strategy appearing on the screen once again by Jasper, just backing out of that move there, as a few drivers just setting themselves up for moves. Our pitter trying to get on the back of Reggie, I think that's Pietty on the back of Reggie. It's now alongside and is now ahead by Jasper, just looking one for the inside down at turn 10. But everyone's made it through turn 1, lap 1. We're now halfway through lap 1. That looks like Nico Zora trying to send one to the inside of Sumi. They're going to go wheel to wheel through the end of the second sector, but just decides to back out in the end. And that's Tibokarin is going to lead this race after lap 1. Our pitter will be closely following Liam for 5th place. As that's Tootie Boy sending it on by Jasper into the final corner for 9th and 10th place. Forces by Jasper out wide. And they're going to go wheel to wheel in the run down towards turn 1. Dutchie, by the way, might try and get involved in this battle as well. Sorry about this, but Pinty's actually gone up into the lead of the race. It looks like a mistake from Tibokarin, as he's losing a lot of time through the run in the run down towards turn 3. Probably lost the rear on the exit of turn 1. That's going to be my guess in that one. Is now 5 tenths behind and is under pressure from Hilstedinho. Behind for 3rd place. He goes from attacking to defending so quickly round this track. Tootie Boy picks up a 3-second time penalty, and we're saying track limits are quite harsh round this track. Definitely easy to pick one up. Here goes Cyrax in the hard compound tyres, trying to get past Dutchie for 11th place. Slots in behind the slipstream of Tootie Boy. Might try and go around the outside. Can he make the move stick? Not quite alongside enough to make anything happen. There's the predicted pit stop strategy for Cyrax, starting on the hard compound tyres. Will be going about 15 laps into this race before pitting onto the mediums, as Tibokarin is so close behind Pinty for this race lead at the end. We're halfway through lap 2. Pietty gaining on the back of our pitter. On those medium tyres, he'll be going slightly longer than those on the softs. We've got so many closely contested gaps here, as Dutchie and Tootie Boy now going side by side through turn 13, I believe. Tootie Boy gets ahead off the track. Might have to give that one back. It looks like he does give that one back. Good sportsmanship there from him. But he sends it once again at the final corner. Both drivers go off wide. Tootie Boy kind of forcing Dutchie off. He might unfortunately pick up a warning for that. Cyrax is going to try and capitalise. They're 3 wide going into turn 1. The last time he had a 3 wide moment, it ended up in a catastrophic accident down in the run down towards turn 1 at Portimao. We're at turn 1 here at Paul Ricard. And that's Dutchie, by the way, sending one to the inside. And someone's lost the rear. That's Cyrax on those hard compound tyres. Just didn't have the grip. As Nico Zora and Sumi now going side by side for 12th place. Nico Zora gets the move done on Sumi and moves his way up into 12th place. Will be now hunting down Dutchie, by the way, on a set, or he's on the medium tyres, hunting down Dutchie on a set of the mediums, and that's Mr. Morning losing a ton of positions there. He's gone round at turn 6, sorry. I didn't even see that. I thought the camera was panning on some of the other drivers ahead, but that's hugely unfortunate for him, especially considering he's on the softs. For his strategy to work, he needs to be ahead on those soft compound tyres. Nico Zora looking for a move to the inside of Dutchie, by the way. Meanwhile, back out in front, Pinty is so close behind Tibokarin, he might even decide to send it into this long right-hander, which is so easy to do. Doesn't quite send it yet, not close enough to go for a move. Sumi and Nico Zora now going side by side through the fast right-hander of turn 10. Nico Zora might send one to the inside. Sumi has that one covered though. But the more defensive you go down at turn 11, the more time you lose to the car in front as you compromise your line to defend the car behind. Speaking of compromised lines, that's not the right line. You want to be going through that left-hander, getting on the curb, losing the rear, and that's the 3rd spin after 3 laps. And unfortunate for Sumi, drops himself down into 13th place. Meanwhile, back out in front, Pinty goes down the inside of Tibokarin. Gets the move done, but Tibokarin's going to have a good run, a good slingshot through the exit of turn 2 into turn 3. Is he not close enough to warrant a move? Tootie Boy getting that move on Dutchie in towards turn 1 as Mr. Morning comes into the pits from those soft compound tyres. Looks like he's pitting onto another set of soft, so that's a committed 2-stop at least for him. Meanwhile, Tibokarin is going to get the DRS, considering we're on lap 4 and he's within a second of the car in front. Well, for now, he no longer has a car in front of him as he pulls alongside and pulls ahead of one of his championship rivals and gets the move done up into the lead of this race. And you can see the front 3 have already pulled a 2.3 second gap to the cars behind them. Jasper now is going to get the DRS on Reggie. He's closer to Reggie than Reggie is to Pietty. These drivers running so closely in the early phase of this race. Now going through the fast right-hander. Pitter makes contact with Liam. That's a corner you don't want to make contact in. Could end in a catastrophic accident. And lack of control and at high speed doesn't tend to end well for either driver. But what an entertaining start we've had to the start of this French Grand Prix. Some say this track doesn't provide good racing. Meanwhile, Liam decides to come into the pits from the softs. That's really early from the softs by Jasper. Also, and do they have damage potentially? Not that I'm aware of. Tootie Boy also comes into the pit. So these are really early stops from the softs. They don't tend to last that long. Just having a look, it doesn't look like a wing being prepared for anyone. Early stops then. Tootie Boy into the hards. It's mediums for the other two. So that's definitely a two stop for the drivers pitting for mediums. Apologies that I've not been looking in the chat, but so much has happened since I last checked, both on the racetrack and in the chat. Good to see that everyone is enjoying the race. Piatti, we're currently running in 5th place from the medium tyres, first of the medium tyre runners, closely behind our pitter using the DRS to his advantage. Let's get the telemetry up so we can see. We got someone off. That's Tubokaran off at turn 8. Sorry, the same place that Tim lost it last season in the Super League on the final lap, or the penultimate lap. I can't remember what lap it was. Huge and unfortunate for him, and now runs in 6th place after fighting for the lead, but that promotes everyone up a position. Hilstedinho is now the closest car to challenge Pinty for the lead of this race, running in a good 2nd place for himself. And my apologies. Oh, Soft Run is actually into the pits. That's early for Softs once again. But my apologies, I've been calling turn the chicane after the straight turn 7. I thought that counted. I thought the little kink, the little left-hander on exit, I thought that counted as the corner, but the corner before the straight is actually turn 7. That's why I was getting so confused earlier on. Meanwhile, the new lead of the race is between Arpita and Piatti, softs versus mediums. We'll have to see which tyre has the more superior grip. Arpita on those mediums. I would favour those tyres at this stage of the race. Those soft tyres are only 3 laps away from potential puncture territory, and if you're 3/10 behind the car in front going through turn 7, with the aid of DRS, you're likely to get the move done down in towards turn 8. Arpita defends the inside line, but I don't think it's going to mean much, as Piatti, with the help of ERS, gets the move done up into the lead of the race. Mr. Morning, on 2-lap-old soft tyres, sets the new fastest lap of this race, as quite a lot of penalties coming into play already. You can see 7 drivers have picked up a time penalty. But considering that we are about a fifth of the way through the race, let's have a look at the biggest gainers and losers. Nico Zora up 10 places, Piatti up 7, Cyrax up 9, Sumi up 8, mainly due to lack of pit stops. But you can see there, Tabokaran down 10 positions after his earlier spin, as Dutchy picks up a 3-second time penalty. It's getting pretty close between Liam and By Jasper. They're now going wheel to wheel through the long right-hander of turn 11 into 12. By Jasper taking a wide line might leave him vulnerable to Reggie, currently running in 10th place, the last of the points paying positions. But we've got so many close battles here on track. We've got this train for what is 8th place. We've got another one for 4th, which contains quite a number of cars. And this is Pinty now on a charge on those fresh medium tyres. Pulls over to the right-hand side of the track. Gets the move done into turn 1, easy as you like. By Jasper looking for a move on Liam into turn 1. Wasn't close enough to make that one work. But I'm sure he's going to get another opportunity down at turn 8 and 9 after the longest straight at this track. But look at these 4 drivers running so closely to one another. Hilstedinho has actually set the fastest first sector of anyone early on in this race, and he's on a charge. You can see him here on these fresh medium tyres against Cyrax's 6-lap-old hards. Pinty also getting the move done on Sumo in front, moving his way up into 4th and 6th place respectively. Mr. Morning picks up another 3-second time penalty early on in this race. That's really not what you want to be doing. Tubokaran is now going wheel to wheel, pulls over to the left-hand side of the track and gets the move done up into 11th place. Is comfortably ahead, smooth back over to the racing line, and now can start his 10-second charge to buy Jasper, where the points are all available for. Hilstedinho almost pushing Sumi through turn 11. But just look at the deltas. This is ridiculously close between these academy guys. Hilstedinho using the overtake to try and send one maybe to the inside. Sumi's gone deep, almost into the pit lane. They're going wheel to wheel through the final corner, but Hilstedinho on those fresh medium tyres just has the grip. And there's contact between Cyrax and Sumi, and Sumi spinning out into the barrier. Thankfully no damage, well, no visible damage to the front wing. But contact made between Cyrax and Sumi. Wasn't the best camera angle. But it appeared that Cyrax just tried going round the outside, and I don't think Sumi was expecting him to be there, and they kind of just converged lines on one another. Mr. Morning makes his way up into 13th place, getting ahead of Dutchy, who's got his fuel light on already, so he's under-fueled the car. Wow. That's quite risky. You need a safety car to save lots of fuel in this game. It's so tricky to save fuel in this game. You can lift and coast all you like, but I went 0.05 laps down on lap 19 in China in the Premier Series, and I couldn't save fuel. But Jasper has gone a bit too deep in towards turn 8. I think he was more avoiding action. Picks up a time penalty though for in doing so. People in the chat asking about rain for tomorrow's race. That would be, actually, what day is it tomorrow? It's Tuesday tomorrow. Okay, that's fine. I don't race on Tuesday. That's all okay. It can rain tomorrow as much as it likes. As our pitter is in from the soft compound tyres, it'll be interesting to see if he goes on to the hards. Be a stretch if the hards can go to the end. We'll just have to wait and see. Cyrax running a little bit wide through turn 12 and 13. And it is hard tyres for our pitter, so he could be going to the end of this race on board with Jasper, who was behind Cyrax, was now alongside. Cyrax is now ahead of Cyrax as they go through turn 1. Liam coming, our pitter coming up to the pits, 2.3 seconds behind Liam. Just ahead of this nice battle for 7th place, Mr. Morning picks up another penalty. This time it's for speeding in the pit lane, and that's later on the brakes from both Jasper. I thought he was going to try that round the outside. Decided to back off in the end. Will get the beautiful gift of the drag reduction system down the back straight. Has no ERS to play with though, but that's not going to stop him from trying. Is he going to send one? He pulls over to the right hand side of your screen, but then decides to pull back over into the racing line. To Bokharin getting the move done on Sumi, but Sumi's going to try and send it back, but wasn't quite close enough to pull off that move. Can you show the time so far? Assuming you mean the fastest lap. Those are the fastest laps of the race so far. To Bokharin currently has the fastest lap with a 1:33.8. Will get an extra point if he keeps it by the end because he's in the top 10. Also, if he can stay in the top 10, nice. Well, you'll be gifted an extra point for the fastest lap. But changing it back now, Liam is running closely behind Reggie here in the battle for 5th place. Pinty as well, closing on Nico Zora down to turn 1 to the point that they're actually alongside. Can Pinty get this one down round the outside? Beautiful move. Gets up into 2nd place and can now hunt down your current race leader, Pietri, who hasn't pit from those medium tyres. 17 seconds behind the leader. And Pinty hasn't stopped, but he's only got one stop left in his strategy. So has the rest of the field, apart from our pitter, who could be going to the end of the race. On those hard tyres, it could be a stretch to do 21 laps on a set. 21? Where am I getting 21 from? No, he should be able to get to the end on those hard tyres. Apologies about that. I thought he pitted a lot earlier, but he's only done 1 lap on those tyres. The gap though, out in front, is coming down. And for Pinty's strategy to work, he needs to gain 16 seconds in, I would say, 3 laps. That's when the one-stoppers are going to be into the pits. And those mediums, well, they're going to be matching the hards initially, but I don't think the fresh hards are going to be 16 seconds quicker than, maybe 5 lap older hards or so. We'll just have to wait and see how this one plays. My preferred strategy is the medium hard round this track. The mediums and the hards, I don't know what it is, but I just prefer the hard tyres on this track. It's kind of like in Portimao in the Premier Series. I chose the softer hard strategy. Everyone was like, why didn't you go mediums? But you had a choice for the hards, and if the hards are an interesting tyre on this game. Some tracks they take time to get up to temperature. Sometimes they just work so well, and that was what I was feeling at Portimao, and Radio was close to feeling the rear diffuser of Nico Zora. But if you're this close behind, when you get the gift of DRS, unless you're running 11-11 wings and the car in front's running 1-1 wings, it should be a pretty comfortable pass as Reggie makes his way up into 4th place. Nico Zora can do nothing to fight that one back, but might try something. Having said that though, Liam on those fresher medium tyres sends one down the inside and gets up into 5th place. But it's interesting. Actually, I've got 2 things to say so far. Firstly, Nico Zora is 20 seconds behind Pietty, who's doing the same strategy as him. So that just shows the pace of Pietty, who's into the pits early. My second point, look at the weather. Look at the weather, ladies and gentlemen. Have you noticed it's got a little bit darker since the start of the race? The clouds are looming over the circuit of Paul Ricard. I can see everyone in the chat what they're typing. I'm just waiting for it to come through. The last time it rained here, we had 5 safety cars, I believe. Now, I think that was the last time we raced here. That's Pietty off on those fresh hard tyres from the lead of the race. That could be the turning point in this race for Pinty's strategy to work. As Pietty on those cold, hard tyres. That's what I was saying about the hards. They either just work or they don't. That's a prime example of the hard tyres not working. And that's how quickly it can go downhill. By Jasper trying to make his race go slightly more uphill in a more positive way. There's looks to set himself up. There definitely wasn't room on the right hand side of the track to go for a move there. But will set himself up on a set of medium tyres. 7-lap old mediums versus 3-lap old hard. I'd say those tyres are fairly similar to be honest. As it has got a lot darker in the past 5 minutes. So ladies and gentlemen, get your umbrellas prepared, get your raincoats on, because we could be in for a treat. So we just have to wait for that flash of rain to appear on the screen. The lines to start coming down on the halo. Meanwhile, Pietty is going to try to go around the outside of Cyrax in towards the final view corner. Couldn't quite pull that one off. That is Nico Zora into the pits, gaining positions in the pits because you cut the final corner. My apologies, I thought 2 drivers have spun. Meanwhile, Cyrax is having to defend from Pietty going in towards turn 1, but those fresh hard tyres are more superior than 12-lap old hards. What did I say? I feel like I said soft tyres. 1-lap old hards are quicker than 12-lap old hards. Makes sense. And, I was talking about the rain and the clouds, but it's got a little bit brighter now in the past 30 seconds. It's almost like the rain gods have gone, yes, everyone doesn't want rain, we'll give them rain. And then at the chance of rain, they're like, ha ha ha, you thought we'd give you rain. Jubokaran, though, is going to be preparing for a moves over to the left-hand side of the track. I've actually forgotten how to use the spectator cam, trying to get back into the cinematic cam. Gets the move done comfortably up into 8th place and will be continuing his hunt for a top 5 finish. So yeah, there goes the chance of rain, I guess, unless it just plummets down out of the blue. Literally out of the bright blue sky that is looming over this beautiful track in France. There is a fly attacking my face. Apologies if you can just hear buzzing down the mic. That would be a fly trying to have the final word in the commentary. But Cyrax is I think he's gonna try and do his best to stay with Jubokaran. He doesn't have the tyre advantage. And if he can stay with him through the DRS zones, it's definitely going to help his strategy later on when he's on those fresh medium tyres. Meanwhile, By Jasper is gaining with the DRS ever so much in the run down towards turn 1. Is he close enough to go for a move? Not quite, and he's kind of misjudged. He's got a bit too deep in towards turn 1. That's going to compromise his line, but Pitter's like, whoa, got on the power a bit too soon, got on the inside curb, and decided to stick the rear out, give everyone a heart attack watching. They need to stop doing this, because it's just the natural reaction to go, as someone goes off. It's just kind of natural for someone to do it, especially when it's unexpected. As I don't think our Pitter's going to be expecting, well, I think he is going to be expecting this, I should say. By Jasper with the overtake and the DRS has absolutely nothing left in the battery deployment. Gets up into 5th place. 9-lap-old mediums versus 5-lap-old hards. Those tyres actually should be fairly similar to one another. Our Pitter's not going to give this one up without a fight. By Jasper's weaving in front. There's more than one weave that might be looked at. Our Pitter's not quite close enough though to challenge for a move, but he's going to do almost a switchback. Mr. Morning's retired in the pit lane. By Jasper defending for his life from our Pitter behind on those fresher hard compound tyres compared to the 9-lap worn mediums. Let's have a look at the gap to leader though. Pietti's 13 seconds behind Pinty, who is going to be pitting again. So he's got the gap. It's whether he's got the pace compared to Pinty's fresher medium tyres. Yellow flags being waved down the start-finish straight. No overtaking through the waved yellows. I think someone might have gone off at turn. No, that's right. That's Mr. Morning's car pulling off and retiring. Bockerin and Pietty going side by side through turn 1, almost coming together. And I think that's Mr. Morning's car, his AI, still retiring. Shouldn't warrant a safety car. Fortunate for him, the only retirement, or the first retirement in this race. I guess there has to be a first thing for everything. A first time for everything, sorry. Nico Zorek picks up another with a 3-second time penalty. Let's have a quick look at the time penalty situation. The highest 9 seconds by a Tutti Boy. A lot of 3-6 seconds spread across the grid. But the top 4, apart from Reggie, doing it well to keep all 4 wheels on the track. And well, we're talking about penalties, and Sumi picks up a 3-second time penalty down at turn 5. I'll get there eventually. But the gap out in front, Hilstadinho is maintaining 1.8, 1.9 seconds behind. As, yep, there we go. Talk about the top 4 being consistent with penalties, and Liam goes and picks himself up a 3-second time penalty. Decides to dive it into the pits from 10-lap worn mediums. I'm assuming this is going to be for another set of medium tyres going on to the bright blue car here. Everyone's going to be gaining air position temporarily as Liam comes into the pits for a fresh set of rubber. Let's have a look actually at the championship standings. And after last week's race at Portimao, Skeldog dominated that one. And fortunately, he is not here for today's race, so won't be scoring any points. He's won the first 2 races, got the fastest lap in both of them. He was just absolutely on absolute fire. Pinty picking up 2 podiums, 3rd and 2nd place respectively. Currently leading this race, but for how much longer he will be expected to be into the pits in the next few laps. Pietty currently running in 7th place, in a good position as well to win this race after picking up a podium in Bahrain, and 5th place in Portimao. So we've got a lot of the top runners up here. Luca Rosman as well, unfortunately not here tonight. Picked up a podium in Portimao. But look at this train now we've got forming behind By Jasper. We've got Arpita, Bockerin and Pietty all on different strategies. Arpita on 7-lap worn hards will be going for, I think he went from soft to hard. Pietty going from mediums to hard. The guys around him on 2 stops. Pinty looks like he's made a mistake. That gap's gone from 1.9 to 1 second now. Hilstadinho finding pace out of somewhere, almost closing the gap within 1 second. Looking at the deployment though, Pinty's starting to use more of his deployment as 2 stoppers are into the pits. 3 medium tyre runners pitting for another set of medium tyres And it's actually close between the crossover between softs and mediums. Now you might be wondering, crossover between softs and mediums? You can only say that about the dries, or the dries and the wets, as in soft slicks to inters, or inters to wets. But around this track, because you can do 9 laps on softs, 15 on the mediums can comfortably go to the end. But if you just stay out 1 or 2 more laps, it'll be time for soft tyres, yellow flags, and that's Tootie Boy off at turn 1. Thankfully for the ghosting system, otherwise he would have had Tobockerin up his rear diffuser. But that doesn't warrant a virtual safety car. Just a spin down at turn 1 has been, and is able to get the car facing in the right direction. But we're on lap 17 out of 27. 11 laps to go. That gap out in front has increased by 3 seconds roughly on this lap. Pietti is 2/10 behind Arpita on those fresher hard compound tyres. Will be fighting like crazy to get as high up the grid as he can. Because, well, the guys going to the end, they need to push, because these two out in front, well, they're going to be pitting for fresher and quicker tyres towards the end of the race. It could be close to see if they go onto a set of soft compound tyres towards the end of this race. That they're going to be rapid, setting fastest lap after fastest lap. And here goes to Bockerin to the inside by Jasper. There wasn't the room. Picks up a 3-second time penalty for going over the curve. And Arpita and Pietti are on the same strategy, despite Arpita with the same amount of pit stops. Arpita starting on the soft tyres, Pietti starting on mediums, which is why he's done 3 fewer laps on those hard compound tyres, and which is why those hard compound tyres are going to be quicker than Arpita's 9-lap old hard tyres. Further down the grid, by Jasper is so close behind Tobockerin towards turn 1. I saw the dots almost merge. 2 dots that will be merging is Pietti and Arpita, as Pietti gets the move down comfortably down the straight up into the podium positions here, which could become the net lead. Pinty's lost so much time on this lap. I don't know whether it's because of tyre wear or a mistake, but the gap is now within a second of Hilstedinho as they're going through the final sector. Someone was purple. I think that might have been Pietti purple through the middle sector. I was changing through the drivers so quickly there. Arpita, though, is able to keep up through the middle sector. Do the leaders decide to come into the pits? Pinty comes into the pits. Hilstedinho follows him in. Darchie Boy is unfortunately disconnected from this race. He's currently running in 13th place. But this is a crucial turning point in the race. What tyres do the front two go on to? Is it mediums or is it softs? It's softs for Pinty. Softs for Hilstedinho. Softs for Pinty. There we go. They've diverted from the mediums, the soft medium to a medium soft, soft medium soft. They've been able to stretch those mediums a few extra laps to go onto a set of the fastest red striped soft tyre. Ready sets the fastest lap with a 33.3 on the set of medium tyres. However, I think that could be beaten by a set of rapid soft tyres. This is where it gets interesting, and where in your first stint you need to push like mad on the medium tyres and continue to push for the rest of the race, because 10 lap hold hards against 8 fresh soft tyres with a gap of 8 seconds in 8 laps. I mean, a second a lap might sound a lot, but in this initial first 4 laps, those soft tyres are gonna be diabolically quick. We're going to see quali lap after quali lap after quali lap for the first 5 laps. The soft tyres will go off, but they will be about the same pace as the hards, which is why it's important for the one-stoppers to not get involved in any useless, as I say useless, unnecessary battles for this strategy to work. Arpita as well has a time penalty. Pinty and Pietti don't. That's going to be crucial come the end of their races. The gaps have started to open up across the midfield with drivers on different strategies and different penalties as well. Might be just trying to keep it clean, keep it consistently on the track. I mean, I'd rather lose 3/10 than 3 seconds down at one corner. Softs last for about 9 laps before they puncture. So with 8 laps to do on them, it's going to be close. I think it's going to be possible. I don't think they're at risk. I think that's the best way to put it. I don't think they're at risk of getting a puncture, but I think they're at risk of having too much tyre degradation at the end of their stint, and that's where they're going to lose time to the hard compound tyre runners. Those hard tyres, they are the most consistent tyre for this game. Pinty actually is closing that gap at a rapid rate of knots. He's gained 2.5 seconds in the last lap. Let's have a look at the lap times, comparing Piatti and Hilstadino's and Pinty's. So you can see there, 34.5, 34.2, 34.2. Those are consistent times that the hard tyres give you. Pinty's times, though, on the soft compound tyres, look at those sector splits. It's a 35.1 on this last lap because he came into the pits, but 23 flats compared to a 23.70, 7 tenths quicker alone through turns 1, through sector 1, sorry, not turn 1, but turn 1 is in sector 1. I think every turn 1 is in sector 1. So if you could name a track where actually no, I can name a track where turn 1 isn't in sector 1. If anyone else can in the chat, I'll give them £5. Someone's off. It's Reggie down at turn 12. I'm joking. I don't have the money. No, but if someone in the chat can name a track that doesn't have turn 1 in the first sector, then I'll give you a round of applause, because I can definitely think of one track. I'll give you a clue. It's not in the F1 game. Well, I can see everyone thinking now, going, what track? What track doesn't have turn? I think it could be a trick question. Some people might say a drag strip, but is that a track? Anyway, we've gone slightly off topic for the during this race. Lap 21 out of 27. The gaps are starting to close into one another for this midfield training of cars. Liam Chewbacca and Reggie by Jasper as well. But the battle closing from 5th to 8th. Meanwhile, the battle out in front is, well, it's coming down. But I don't know who I'm going to put my money on. Le Mans. Oh my god, that's my. I'm so sorry, guys. I actually just called Le Mans. Sorry, I was reading the chat. Le Mans has a right corner, then a left before the first sector. Hockenheim, because there is no Hockenheim. Well, technically, Hockenheim still has turn 1, which is in sector 1. Chewbacca is going down the inside. Liam's going to try the switchback move in towards turn 11. Really easy corner for two drivers to collide at. I can see everyone's just thinking about this. This is a nice little trivia. Sorry, for the guys watching the race. No, but Le Mans has corners in the first sector. Turn 1's in the first sector. Hockenheim has turn 1, 2 and 3. I think the hairpins. I think the sector split stops at the hairpin. Meanwhile, Reggie, back to the racing, is going down the inside of Liam. Can he make this one stick? There's contact, I think. And Reggie sent spinning down at turn 1. It was hard to tell if there was contact or if he just lost it on the inside curb. I'm going to watch the stream back because mine's slightly behind. Oh, it's hard to tell. You'll need an onboard to get confirmation of that one. I'm sure the stewards might look at that. But with 6 laps to go, Pinty has closed the gap down to 1.6 seconds. And, well, he's definitely looking like someone to challenge for the win. Meanwhile, by Jasper and Liam going wheel to wheel in towards turn 7 and 8 and 9 as by Jasper gets the initial jump. Liam, though, deploying as much battery as he can, goes to the inside in towards turn 10, side by side through the high-speed corner. Cyrax picks up a penalty. Liam cuts the corner on the inside. By Jasper is able to maintain 6th position, but for how much longer? Gavra saying this not a good place for overtaking down at turn 1. Yeah, well, I would agree if you're on the inside. But from a driver's point of view, if you're on the inside, you run the risk of the driver in front not giving you room. I think, for me, that's the honest truth. It's definitely doable. Technically, you can go side by side into any corner. Pinty, though, will be looking to go side by side with our pitter, and hopefully we'll be getting ahead of him for his championship fight. Yellow flags, I think that was for Nico Zoro, currently running in 10th place. Meanwhile, our attention's turned to the soft tyre runners. Pinty now in the DRS in the slipstream is now alongside. We'll be seeing him to his right. Now we'll be seeing him in his mirrors as he moves his way up into second place. And he'll be hunting down his charge for the lead and ultimate victory of this race. 2.6 seconds in 4 laps. I think he's got this one in the bag. However, those soft tyres are going to be pretty dead. He's been pushing lap after lap. Let's have a look at the fastest lap. Who owns the fastest lap? It's currently Hilstedinho on those soft compound tyres. Went 1/10 quicker than Pinty's fastest lap. So if he can maintain that fastest lap and stay inside the top 10, he will take home an extra point for fastest lap. And I trust me, guys, I will tell you the answer to the question: which track hasn't got turn 1 or doesn't have turn 1 in the first sector? Meanwhile, the gaps out in front have opened, but they're going to swiftly close with soft tyre runners making their way through the field. Liam on those hards, doing well to keep up with Jasper's pace in the mediums. They're about the same tyre life, 6 and 7, soon to be 7 and 8 as they start lap 24 or 27. Both have absolutely, no one has any ERS apart from our pitter. He's going to be deploying that to try and keep Hilstedinho behind. But for how much longer? And that's by Jasper off at turn 1. And I'm going to assume he's lost it on the inside curb or on the outside curb. Either on entry or on exit, I'd assume on exit, judging by where the cars ended up. Meanwhile, Hilstedinho is going to be in the DRS, not close enough to send one to the inside and towards turn 8 and 9. By Jasper picks up a 3-second time penalty down at the end of the first sector. Meanwhile, those fresh set of soft compound tyres, that's not easy to say when you've been awake for about 15 hours. Well, it's actually pretty much exactly 15 hours. Let me just double check. Yeah, I got up at... No, it's not. No, it's... I got up at 4:30. I can't be bothered to do the maths. That's so bad. It sounds bad. 4:30 in the morning, but it's all for a good purpose. None that I don't think I need to describe on stream. If you want to know what I was doing at 4:30, you can feel free to message me on Discord or wherever. Meanwhile, our attention's turned back to the podium fight for third place. Hilstedinho pulls over to the left-hand side of your screen. The outside line for turn 1. Is there room on the outside? You bet there is. With those fresh soft compound tyres. That's got gone in a bit too deep though. Our pitter gets the advantage back up into third place. That might not be the best of moves though, considering there's a massive long DRS straight a few corners ahead as they go, they're about to go through the DRS activation zone now. So our pitter going through ahead. Hilstedinho is going to get gifted the beautiful DRS. You can see any minute now the DRS flap opens up on the rear. He pulls over to the outside line, the left-hand side of your screen, right-hand side of the track, swoops around the outside and makes his way up into third place. Now he can start his hunt on Pinty. 4.2 seconds behind. Definitely cost him a lot more time than Pinty did getting that move done. 2 laps to go. Can Piatti keep Pinty behind? This is what I was saying about the strategy. Had he not span earlier on in the race, I think it was him who span earlier. It was one of the yellow cars. I think it was Piatti who span down at turn 2 after pitting for those hard compound tyres. Who knows where he would have been without that spin. It's so good to be true that it rhymes. Pinty though is in the DRS. You can see the flap open up at the back. That was close to a rhyme. Let's get all the UI back up. Every week I keep forgetting what buttons do which because I'm so used to the buttons on GT Sport. I go to change camera and then I do that and then I flick between someone like that and then I get rid of the UI and it's carnage. I'm used to doing it on a keyboard because on GT Sport it's easier. You can get the replay feature and blah 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 blah. We need a replay feature on here. I don't think it's not too important. Obviously F1's about the racing rather than the commentary behind it. Whereas GT Sport's more, the Nations Cup Manufacturers Series. I think they're kind of... They've been in GT Sport for not forever, but new esports is a new thing for F1, if that makes sense. put the penalties. My apologies for I don't know how long that, but there are your time penalties so far in this race as we are on the penultimate lap. The front three picking up no time penalties. 3 seconds for our Pitter, Nico Zora and Dutchy. 6 seconds for Tibokeren. 9 seconds for Liam, Reggie, Cyrax, and 12 seconds for By Jasper, Sumi, and Tootie Boy. But this is where you must push every ounce of grip on your set of tyres. The hards are going to be screaming, the softs are going to be dying, but which one's going to come out victorious as Piatti starts the final lap of the race? 1.8 seconds clear, 1.1 seconds clear of Pinty on those 8 lap old softs. The tyres can do 9 laps. He's 1 lap off of a puncture or a potential puncture. I think those tyres have gone off, and in my honest opinion, I think the mediums were probably the way to go, because on those medium tyres you would have had the consistency, you would have had the grip to go and still push for the potential lead of this race. Meanwhile, towards the back of the grid though, we have a nice battle here for the points paying position. Nico Zora trying to close in on Sumi, all on hard tyres. Tootie Boy on fresher mediums. He's definitely got the tyre advantage out of those two. Let's see if he can make 2 overtakes on this last lap and grant himself a few points in this race. Driver of the day poll in the chat. I agree with Unique J. Those soft tyres, I don't think they're going to be faster than those hards. This is why I was saying the soft medium might have probably been the soft medium might have probably been the preferred strategy to have gone to, as you're still going to have grip at the end of the race, even if it's not at the start, as Tootie Boy's going to try and go around the outside of Nico Zora. It's a shame we got an on-board camera angle, but what a move that was, and to finish it off with style, he's going to step the rear out, but coming round the final corner, after an earlier spin, he's made the one-stop work. Piatti wins the French Grand Prix, and Pinty tried his hardest with the 2-stop, claims second place. Hilstadinho rounds out the podium in 3rd place. Pitter finishes in 4th. Tibokeren is going to set to finish in 5th place on the circuit. I don't know what the penalties are like. Meanwhile, Liam will come across the line in 6th place on the track, but can Reggie deny him of a 6th place finish? He can't with penalties. What about By Jasper? He can't even finishes in 8th place. Cyrax will come across the line. Does he jump anyone on penalties? Not quite. Finishes in 9th place for himself. Meanwhile, the battle at the back, I think, might be coming to a swift end, as I assume he's been able to pick up a 1.8 second advantage. And if he can negotiate the final corner, which he does so, he's going to take the final points paying position of the day. Finishes in 10th place on track. What do penalties say? I don't think anything changed. I'm not sure. We'll have to wait and see. Your in-game driver of the day, well, the guys you voted for, was Piatti. Also gets the in-game driver of the day as well after starting this race down in 7th or 8th place. But I think that was a good race. I think people can agree with me in the chat. I think we've had 3 really good academy races here. Portimao, Bahrain and France. I think France is definitely underrated in the F1 game in terms of the action it provides on track. But here is your finishing grid for today's race. Piatti picks up 25 points and the top step of the podium. Pinty in 2nd to complete a Scandinavian 1, 2 and 3. Hilstadinho finishes in 3rd with the fastest lap of the race. A 1 minute 32.3. Our Pitter in 4th, just missing out on the podium position, followed by Tibokeren in 5th, Liam in 6th, Reggie in 7th, By Jasper in 8th, Cyrax in 9th, and Nico Zora actually jumps Sumi for the final points paying position. Sumi in 11th, Tootie Boy in 12th, Dutchy after disconnecting and joining back later on in the race, clearly managed 13th place, unfortunate for him, and Mr. Morning, your only retirement in this race. Thank you for everyone joining me in the chat. Thank you, Unique J. Pierre is saying French GP is underrated. You're right. I'm right. Just reading the comment. That's going to be it from France. Join us tomorrow and the rest of the week for the Freshman Premier Series and Super League, the weekends for GT Sport League. How could I forget? That's going to be all here from Paul Ricard, all from me, X90G, and I'll see you next week. Goodbye.